The quiet before the quantum shift. Sometimes right before a major quantum jump, life starts to feel strange. Not chaotic, not entirely peaceful, just different. As if something deep beneath the surface is shifting, but you can't quite name it. Conversations start to sound hollow. The routines that once grounded you suddenly feel irrelevant. Even your old ambitions, the ones that once lit you up, begin to lose their flavor. And this can be unsettling, because the mind has been trained to believe that progress means movement. Constant doing, constant striving, constant becoming. But in truth, this stillness you're feeling is not stagnation, it's recalibration. In quantum mechanics, before a particle jumps to a new state, it enters a moment of uncertainty, a superposition. A mysterious phase where every potential outcome exists at once, not yet collapsed into form. It's not a pause, it's the most dynamic state of all. Right now, you're in that same quantum space, the liminal zone between timelines. The old version of you is dissolving, and the new one is forming in a reality that already exists within the field. The human mind struggles with this. It craves proof, direction, evidence. But the quantum doesn't obey those rules. What you're experiencing is the dismantling of the old vibrational blueprint, the loosening of the web that once held your life together. For years, that web, your patterns, beliefs, and energetic signatures, anchored you to a specific frequency. But when your higher self decides it's time to evolve, those threads begin to snap. Old contracts expire, identities fade. And before the new reality appears, the first thing you feel is stillness. The absence of the old drive, the strange quiet of becoming. It feels like something's wrong, when in fact it's the clearest sign that something profoundly right is unfolding. Mystics call this stage the void, the fertile darkness, where creation gathers itself before the light returns. Here, your soul is reorganizing its architecture to match the reality you've called in. The tools that once guided you won't work here anymore. They belong to the identity you're leaving behind. Your task now isn't to fight it, but to trust it. To breathe into the stillness and allow it to rewire you. The silence isn't empty. It's full of quantum data, restructuring your timeline in ways your conscious mind can't yet perceive. Even science agrees. Neuroscience shows that the brain requires stillness to rewire itself, to form new pathways, new predictions, new identities. Your nervous system is adjusting to a higher frequency. Your entire being is learning a new baseline. Because you can't carry the chaos of the old timeline into the coherence of the new. You must release before you can receive. Think of it like the hush before a symphony begins. The dimmed lights, the suspended breath, the poised silence before the first note. That quiet isn't a delay, it's preparation. Or like the tension of a bow being drawn before the arrow flies. That pullback isn't holding you back, it's what gives you momentum. Right now, the universe is drawing you inward. Not to stop you, but to launch you toward a trajectory you could never reach through effort alone. Most people misread this phase. They panic at the stillness, mistake the void for a problem, and scramble to fill it with noise, habits, and distraction. But resistance only keeps you suspended between timelines. The ones who make the leap are the ones who trust the quiet, who understand that this strange calm is not the end. It's the loading screen of a new reality. If you can surrender to it, if you can see the stillness as evidence that the field is already rearranging itself around you, you'll begin to notice the signs. A random conversation that sparks a new idea. An unexpected release of emotion. A sudden, effortless clarity. That's how the quantum whispers. You're almost there. The shift has already begun. These aren't coincidences. They are micro-adjustments in your frequency, lining you up with the new reality. So if you're here feeling a little out of place, unsure of where you're going, but certain you can't go back, congratulations. You're in the exact vibrational space where transformation becomes inevitable. And in the next moments we share, I'm going to show you how to not only survive this phase, but to use it as rocket fuel for your quantum jump. Because once you recognize it for what it is, you'll stop resisting and start moving toward your next timeline with clarity, trust, and the magnetic pull of inevitability. The friction before the shift. One of the most misunderstood aspects of a quantum jump is that it rarely begins with a burst of energy or a dramatic sign from the universe. More often, it begins with friction. Not the chaotic kind that throws your life into obvious turmoil, but subtle, disorienting moments where the things that used to fit you no longer feel quite right. Relationships that once felt comfortable now feel constricting. Work that once gave you purpose feels hollow. Even your inner dialogue starts to sound foreign, as if it's coming from a version of you that no longer exists. This is the frequency mismatch phase, the moment your soul is accelerating into a higher vibration, while parts of your life are still operating in the old one. In quantum terms, this is what's known as decoherence, when two systems, in this case, your inner state and your outer reality, are no longer vibrating in harmony. The tension becomes impossible to ignore. And that tension is not a mistake. It's a signal that your current reality cannot sustain the energetic blueprint of where you're going. Think of it like trying to run the latest software on outdated hardware. The system will lag, glitch, and eventually crash, not because something went wrong, but because an upgrade is required. That upgrade is your quantum jump. Falling out of alignment. Spiritually, this is where many people start to question everything. Why does it feel like I'm falling apart when I'm supposed to be leveling up? The truth is, you're not falling apart. You're falling out of alignment with your old timeline. And that dissonance is the exact force that will propel you toward the new one. Imagine standing with one foot on each of two boats drifting in opposite directions. Eventually, you'll have to commit to one, and the one that matches your frequency will always feel like relief, even if it requires you to leave the familiar behind. Here, where most people get trapped. The mind, uncomfortable with uncertainty, tries to cling to the old. It tells you to fix what's breaking, to smooth over what's falling apart, to restore what's fading away. But in the quantum field, restoration of the old is a step backward. What feels like breakdown is actually the shedding of density, old beliefs, patterns, and identities that can't travel with you to your new timeline. If you rush to patch them back together, you delay the jump. If you allow them to dissolve, you accelerate it. Acceleration. Physics gives us a metaphor here. When an electron jumps to a higher orbital, it must absorb a precise amount of energy, no more, no less. Once it reaches that threshold, it instantly transitions to the new state. There's no in-between. Similarly, your quantum jump happens the moment your frequency matches the reality you're moving into. Not when you force it, not when you push for it, but when you allow the old frequency to fully release so the new one can lock in. This is why excessive doing at this stage is counterproductive. The frantic need to fix, prove, or push is a sign you're trying to bridge two incompatible realities through effort, and effort is always a slower mechanism than alignment. The quantum field doesn't care how hard you work, it cares how purely you vibrate. A single moment of clear resonance will do more for your shift than weeks of unfocused action. If you've noticed lately that certain things are falling away, friendships, opportunities, even aspects of your personality, try this. Instead of asking, "How do I get them back?" ask, "What is this making space for?" That single shift in questioning changes your frequency from resistance to receptivity. Receptivity and the void. In the quantum field, resistance is like static. It scrambles your signal. Receptivity is a direct channel. It calls in the exact timeline already tuned to your desire. And here's the paradox. The more you try to rush this stage, the longer it lasts. Think of it as a necessary decompression chamber between who you were and who you're becoming. In scuba diving, if you ascend too quickly, you get the bends. Your body can't adjust to the rapid change in pressure. Spiritually, the same principle applies. If you try to leap without integrating the energetic changes, your system will pull you back to stabilize. This is why patience, trust, and presence are not passive states. They are active components of the jump. So if right now your life feels half erased, if you're standing in the rubble of what no longer fits but can't yet see what's being built, you are exactly where you need to be. This is not a detour. This is the launchpad. The dissonance you feel is the energy winding up, ready to propel you into the reality that already exists for you in the quantum field. Your only job is to stop gripping the edge of the old boat and let the current of the new one take you. Your quantum jump. Because here's the truth. Your quantum jump is not waiting for the right time, it's waiting for the right you. And the moment you stop trying to fix what's leaving and start attuning to what's arriving, the field will snap into place around you. That's when the shift happens, suddenly, seamlessly, and with a sense of inevitability that will make you wonder why you ever doubted it. Right before a quantum jump, you might notice your emotional world feels amplified, as if someone turned the volume up on every feeling you have. One moment you're buzzing with excitement, certain something extraordinary is about to happen. The next, doubt seeps in, whispering that maybe you imagined it all. This isn't moodiness or inconsistency. It's the emotional signature of a system in transition. In neuroscience, the brain operates on predictive coding. It constantly runs mental simulations of what it expects to happen based on past patterns. Even as your higher self pulls you toward a new reality, your subconscious still clings to the old blueprint, trying to run the outdated program because it feels safer. In quantum terms, this is superposition, the strange, fascinating state in which two or more possible realities exist at once. You are in both timelines, the old one you've been living and the new one you're stepping into. Your emotions become the flicker between them. When you feel surges of hope followed by waves of uncertainty, it's not a setback. It's a sign that your energy is oscillating between states as the field searches for coherence. The stronger the oscillation, the closer you are to collapse, the moment when one timeline becomes the only one. This is why emotional fluctuations before a quantum jump often feel intense. The stakes feel higher because your inner compass is recalibrating in real time. Every belief and emotion, every belief, memory, and attachment you've carried is being scanned by your consciousness. Does this belong in the new reality, or is this an artifact of the old? That process is emotional by nature because emotions are the chemical signals of change. They tell your body that you're in unfamiliar territory, and your body's instinct is to keep you safe, which often means holding on to what's familiar, even when it's not aligned. The mistake most people make here is interpreting doubt as proof they're failing. They start thinking, if I were really close to my quantum jump, I wouldn't feel this much fear. But that's like thinking turbulence means the plane isn't flying, when in fact, turbulence means you're moving through layers of atmosphere that require adjustment. Your emotions are adjusting to an altitude you've never flown at before. The faster you learn to ride the currents instead of gripping the seat in panic, the smoother the journey becomes. Ride the currents. Here's a powerful shift in perspective. Instead of labeling your emotions as good or bad, see them as energy signatures. Joy, excitement, fear, uncertainty, they are all currents of energy moving through your field. None of them are inherently wrong. They're simply telling you where your focus is in this moment. If you react to them as obstacles, you reinforce the oscillation. If you observe them as indicators, you begin to stabilize your signal toward the reality you want. From a spiritual lens, these amplified emotions are a form of initiation. The universe is essentially asking, can you hold your frequency steady even while the winds change? Because the timeline you're stepping into will also bring new experiences, challenges, and unknowns. Your capacity to remain coherent now is what prepares you to thrive later. In this way, emotional turbulence is not a test you can fail. It's the training ground that strengthens your vibrational stability. Conscious neutrality. One practice that accelerates this stabilization is conscious neutrality. When the excitement is high, don't cling to it as the only sign you're on track. When doubt arises, don't treat it as a warning to turn back. Instead, breathe into both states, knowing they are temporary fluctuations within a much bigger trajectory. Imagine yourself as the eye of the storm, still, centered, watching the weather shift around you, but not being carried away by it. This level of emotional mastery is the hallmark of someone who is seconds away from collapsing into their chosen reality. So if lately your feelings have been all over the map, know this: you are not unstable, you are in motion. The field is adjusting to hold you in the frequency of your desired timeline. And the more gracefully you navigate these waves, the faster the oscillation resolves into a single, solid reality. Soon, you won't be flickering between worlds. You'll have landed fully in the one you've been calling in. The final test. Most people imagine the final test before a quantum leap, as if the universe were a stern teacher standing at the front of the class with a red pen, waiting to mark their paper. But the truth is far more intimate and far more empowering. This isn't the universe deciding whether you're worthy. It's your own subconscious running its final diagnostic, surfacing the last fragments of your old identity so you can choose consciously to let them go. You might find yourself suddenly facing the same kinds of challenges you thought you'd already outgrown. A conversation that pushes your butt in exactly the same way an old relationship did. A money situation that triggers the same scarcity panic you felt years ago. Or a wave of self-doubt that sounds eerily familiar. These moments are not punishments. They're mirrors reflecting back the frequency you used to inhabit, so you can decide once and for all whether you still want to live there. From a neuroscience perspective, your brain loves efficiency. It will always reach for the most well-worn pathways first, the familiar responses, beliefs, and behaviors you've rehearsed for years. When you're on the brink of a quantum jump, those neural patterns are still firing. Hoping you'll give them one last confirmation so they can stay in place. The only way to rewire them is not through force, but through demonstration, behaving as the new version of yourself, even when the old triggers are right in front of you. Every time you choose the higher frequency response, you weaken the old pathway and strengthen the new one. In the language of quantum mechanics, this is a collapse of the old probability wave. Until you make a new choice, both versions of you, the one who reacts from the past and the one who responds from alignment, exist simultaneously. The moment you act in a way that aligns with your chosen timeline, you collapse the reality of your old self, and the new one becomes the only active signal you're broadcasting into the field. The threshold. This is why the challenges that arise right before a shift feel so charged. They are the final superposition between who you were and who you are becoming. Spiritually, this stage is less of a test and more of a ceremonial crossing. It's the moment you stand at the threshold, holding the key to your new reality. And the only thing the door asks of you is to respond from the frequency you've been cultivating. If you meet scarcity with gratitude, anger with compassion, and doubt with unwavering presence, you're not just symbolically ready, You're vibrationally locked into your new timeline. The field doesn't need to approve you. It simply mirrors who you are being. And in this moment, being is everything. The test. The danger here is misinterpretation. Many people see these resurfacing challenges as proof they're going backward. They think, if I'm still attracting this, I must be failing. But the reality is, the very appearance of these scenarios means you've shifted enough for them to be flushed out of your field. You can't clear what you haven't yet outgrown. The fact that you're aware of these patterns now, and that you're even asking yourself how to respond differently, is the strongest signal that you're almost there. Think of it like a simulation in a flight simulator. Pilots train for turbulence so that when it happens in real life, they already know exactly how to stabilize the plane. The final test moments before a quantum jump are your simulator runs. They give you the opportunity to embody your new state under conditions that would have once knocked you off balance. Pass this test, meaning, respond from your upgraded frequency, and you're not just imagining your new reality, you're living it in real time. So if right now you're experiencing tension, setbacks, or people from your past resurfacing, don't automatically assume you're stuck. Instead, see it as the clearest sign possible that you are brushing right up against the threshold of your leap. This is the moment to hold your alignment the most fiercely, to act as if the jump has already happened, because, in a very real quantum sense, it has. Engagement command. Anchor your decision into the field by typing in the comments, "I'm ready to pass the test." Let that be your quantum signal that you've already crossed. Here's the thing nobody tells you about a quantum jump. It rarely arrives with a parade. In movies, the big transformation moment is dramatic, fireworks, swelling music, a before and after so obvious you can't miss it. But in real quantum reality, the leap often arrives quietly. One day you wake up and notice the fear you used to feel isn't there. The problem you obsessed over somehow feels irrelevant. A conversation that would have triggered you last month now leaves you completely unmoved. The quiet arrival. The shift doesn't announce itself, it just becomes who you are. And because it feels so natural, your mind may even try to downplay it thinking, "Was that it?" This is where understanding the nature of quantum change is crucial. In physics, when an electron jumps to a higher energy level, it happens instantaneously. There's no gradual climb, no visible struggle. One moment it's in one orbit, the next it's in another. That's exactly how you shift timelines. The arrival isn't about fireworks, it's about resonance. The old frequency drops away so completely that it's hard to remember why it ever felt like home. From a neurological perspective, this is the integration phase. Your brain has stopped firing the old circuits and started solidifying the new ones. You no longer have to try to think differently, it's simply your default. This is why so many people miss the moment of their leap. It feels like breathing. And that's the point. The version of you who lives in your new reality doesn't see it as a breakthrough, they see it as normal. Spiritually, this quiet arrival is the most powerful confirmation you can receive. It's the universe's way of saying you've matched the frequency so completely, there's nothing left to manifest. You're just living it now.